It all comes together in what I think is a dramatic risk-off that happens over the next 4 to 5 weeks. Much like the end of 2018. Those of you from the crypto markets will remember Bitcoin fell 50% over that period and put in the low. I think we're starting to see that kind of scary price action. The equity market as of today has put in a demarket indicator daily low, but this is around the month-end rebalance effects, and we know the month-end rebalance is going to be one of the largest ever, meaning pension funds to rebalance their portfolios have to buy a lot of equities. They're doing that. They probably need to get it done before the long weekend in the United States. After that, I think crypto is telling us it's all going to roll over again, and we'll see the big sell-off. I expect bond yields to continue to rally as they start pricing in the probability that the Fed have to pivot and the economy's gone too far and inflation is broken.
Hello and welcome back to Money Talks. In today's video, Raoul, who is CEO and co-founder of Real Vision and Global Macro Investors, shares his outlook on the unprecedented conditions in the current financial markets and the role of cryptocurrencies, stablecoins, and NFTs in a driving global digital revolution. He also shares his perspective on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, along with an updated insight on his crypto investment portfolio. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video, where Raoul predicts a dramatic risk-off event happening in the next 2 to 4 weeks. So without wasting any more of our time, let's dive right into this video.
And if network adoption models are the key models, I've spent a long time looking at this because a lot of people still don't really understand it. And I thought, how can I model this in a way that makes sense to an idiot like me? Because Metcalfe's law is a complicated formula where we don't have the simple inputs so we can just put it into a model. So I went through all of the different things on chain and the various factors and found that I could best describe the price action of Bitcoin via looking at the total transaction volumes in dollar terms versus the number of active addresses. And that makes total sense. A network of 2 people transacting $1 billion a week is nice, but it's not a network. But the same $1 billion a week transacted by 1 billion people is incredibly valuable. So Bitcoin transacts more volumes than anything else, and it has a lot of active addresses. And what's amazing is the 2 charts, even though the numbers are wildly different, the 2 charts mirror each other perfectly. It tells you that price is actually a great indicator of network adoption. So it doesn't give you a lead, and I'm working on rate of change models and other things to give us some leads on this, but generally it tells you crypto's generally well priced by the market. It's very efficient in what it does.
So a few days into June, Bitcoin continues to trade lower, with prices hovering close to a 12-month low. Despite this, there continues to be optimism around potential rallies in price over the next few weeks. Overall, there's still a lot of uncertainty in the market, with the potential for either bullish or bearish runs in upcoming sessions.
That signal is the signal for risk assets, I believe. And I think we'll see growth end of tech, which has been utterly destroyed and is down 70% plus, and crypto, and probably gold actually, start to outperform along with bonds. And those should be the phoenix that rise from the ashes, and some of these other more cyclical plays will do less well. Those are the things that have been outperforming over the last 18 months. The big question is, what is it going forwards? Is this going to be a longer recession, in which case everything rallies and then comes back down again, the Fed have to do a lot more? Is that what brings the Fed balance sheet in? Is the markets roll over and the economy looks terrible? I'm not sure. My base case scenario is a V-shaped recovery from a absolute cliff edge. But it could be something more drawn out, in which case we've got a much nastier equity bear market to come. But we'll wait and see. So it's a pretty grim prognosis, but I think this is the opportunity I've been looking for.
Heading into June, Bitcoin had seen its value fall for 9 consecutive weeks, pushing prices to their lowest level since the same point last year. This run started towards the end of March, when US inflation rose to nearly 9%, with the war between Russia and Ukraine also escalating. As a result of these fundamental factors, traders and investors alike began to move away from high-risk assets, opting to find safety in safe havens instead. Since then, crypto markets have continued to decline, with Bitcoin going from 48,257 at the beginning of April to a low of around 28,000 in the past 3 weeks. However, with 2/3 of the month left, traders are interested to see if this trend will continue or if a rebound in price is possible.
The weekly DMARC indicators give us between 2 and 4 weeks for this low to come in.
Despite hitting the support point, bulls will likely be optimistic due to historical rallies that take place at this point. As seen from the various Bitcoin charts on the last 2 occasions that Bitcoin has traded at this current level in June 2021 and December 2020, there were significant surges in price.
So I actually think we're about to go into a golden age, which I know people don't want to believe, but nobody believed it back in the 1940s either, because he'd just come through 2 world wars and they thought, well, everything's screwed forever. And much like you didn't believe it in the 1970s because you'd gone through this inflation driven by the demographics, but the net outcome for the next 40 years was the biggest boom of all time. So I'm much more constructive than the mainstream narrative, which is this is the worst thing. Now, I understand that running negative real rates means that purchasing power doesn't go up. Wages are not going up. So, owning assets is the only way of doing it, and assets should outperform debt in a negative real rate environment. So it's doable.
Should history repeat itself, then we will likely see bulls attempting to take prices above the ceiling of 32.5. From that point onwards, the target will likely be 35, which was the second point of interest for the bulls who pushed prices up during those runs in 2020 and 2021. Overall, June looks as though it could potentially burst some surges in Bitcoin's price. However, a key indicator to pay attention to will be the 14-day RSI. As of now, this currently sits at 33.9, which is above support at 33. And should relative strength continue to remain above this floor, then we could see 32.5 sooner than later.
Yeah, look, we've all got the wallet of shame of a whole bunch of tokens that have gone down 80% or so. And those were, I did that on purpose. I chose an equally weighted basket plus a few other bets, and I knew that it was high risk. So, it's not something that concerns me. And within that would have been some of the layer ones, some metaverse, some social tokens, all that kind of stuff. And that was really to see the space, see what's getting adoption, just keep in it and keep learning and just see how that pans out. And then the bulk, 85% of it is all in ETH. And then there's a small amount in Bitcoin. Feels that ETH wants to underperform Bitcoin for a bit now as we hit the final liquidation phase. But that ETH bet was a very good bet versus Bitcoin. I think that continues because of network growth is faster. And I think what I'm looking to do is I think the next phase will be, okay, I think ETH will do well the next cycle, but like Bitcoin did, not as well as it did the previous cycle, because that's how network adoption works. And there'll be one or two other layer ones that will do very well. My kind of hunches are Solana and maybe AVAX, don't know. AVAX a bit complicated for me, so I'm not really sure, but interesting. And then there's going to be trying to capture, okay, what is this next phase going forwards of NFTs and social tokens, and how do you even play that? Because it doesn't really exist to invest in right now. We don't really know. We don't even know what chains half of this stuff is going to end up on. Where do POAPs exist in the end? My guess is Solana's going to get more than we think of this stuff. As more Solana wallets and integrations like Ledger, you can have these Solana and stuff like that in, it becomes something more interesting. But maybe it's not. Solana's got its own problems. It keeps seizing up. So we'll wait and see. I've got no strong view yet, but there'll always be something. And then there'll be the fat tail, which is the thing you didn't see, that goes up, 1,000x. And who knows what that is? That just takes time to uncover and an understanding of the space.
So, do you think a major event can happen in the Bitcoin space in the next 2 to 4 weeks? Tell us what you think in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.